All right. Welcome, everybody. So happy that you're here for our show today. So, welcome to the Art of Healing with your hosts, Dr. Judy Jasek of Animal Healing Arts and Matt Rowe of ParsleyPet. During our show, we are talking about your pet's health, raw feeding, and alternative treatments for cancer, unexplained illnesses, and supporting your pet's natural ability to heal. Welcome, Dr. Judy, to this week's show.
Thanks, Matt. Happy to be here as always, and I'm really excited about our topic. I think it's a really pertinent topic for this age.
And there was, when we were talking pre-show and we were talking about those articles that you had read where there is separation anxiety that's happening inside with the dog, because imagine this time last year, I was home.
Yeah.
I was home. My kids were home. We didn't go anywhere. Everything was on lockdown. And so Leo and Mr. Chacha, they saw me all the time. Dr. G, whether they wanted to or not, I was here.
And your whole family. They saw everybody. You know?
And they got in the habit in thinking that, a dog is a pack animal. We are part of their pack. And so the whole pack's around. So now today, people are going back to the office. They are starting all over again. So they're leaving their dog home. And then the other scary part of this is the increased amount of dogs that are being turned back to the shelter, because during COVID, it was great to get a dog, seemed like a great idea. But now that you're going back to work, if you hadn't trained your dog on how to deal with separation or you being gone 8-10 hours a day, your dog can destroy stuff. Your dog can just get really bored. It's not like, you leave and they're like, oh, that's so great. I wanted to finish that special on Netflix.
Right. I can get caught up on those books now. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been wanting to read that one on dog nutrition.
I don't have to go for a walk every other hour now,
Yeah. I can't imagine CJ sitting there and going, let's work on our long division today. Yeah. Like, that stuff is not going to happen. So your dog being bored is a scavenger. And so your dog is just going to scavenge. They're going to make their own entertainment. And depending on the type of breed that you have. So for example, I've heard horror stories of, like, for example, border collies that are extremely smart. They're left home alone. They get bored and they get into about everything you can imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. And dogs, like you said before, are pack animals. They will sometimes try to get out to get to their pack, to find their pack. Yeah. Dogs are not meant to be solitary animals. Honestly, if you want a pet that you can just leave home for lots of hours and they're probably going to be okay with that, get a cat. Seriously, because cats are much more independent. They can just sit in the windowsill and okay, they're coming, like whatever, as long as they feed me, I'm pretty good. Give me some rubs now and then. But dogs, they're pack animals and active pack. I don't know how many listeners have read about, like, the dynamics of the wolf packs. I've read a number of books on this because this always fascinated me when they reintroduced the wolves, like up in Yellowstone, and they followed the social dynamics of these packs. It is a very set in stone social hierarchy. Yeah. And it's very dynamic and very interactive. They're not just hanging out together. Right. And there's a hierarchy of who's in charge. And say your dog accepts that you're in charge, and now all of a sudden there's no boss all day. Like, they kind of don't know what to do with that. Instinctively, they don't know what to do with that. And that anxiety will build up, and they will destroy stuff. They will destroy stuff. And you have to be careful about just creating them too, because if dogs are not used to that. I actually had a client in this morning, and her dog was a rescue, so we don't know the whole story, but this was a big, strong bulldog dog, very powerful dog. And she's put the dog in a couple different crates, and the dog just destroys them. She's gotten like the most stout crate she can find, and the dog will just destroy him. So that dog was probably, if I had to guess, left in a crate for many, many hours at a time and just said, oh no, we're not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
And he's strong enough that he can get out of it, but pets can really hurt themselves doing that. So
100%.
you have to think through this and I think work towards creating some balance. Even if, for the people that are still working from home, I know now, kids are back doing their sports and so they're running their families around. Well, with a little basic obedience, you could take your dog with you. They can hang out with you on the sidelines at the soccer game, as long as there's shade and you have plenty of water. Get them out and about. And the more exercise and interaction you get them, the better. Or they're going to be tired. They're going to feel more fulfilled, and they'll be okay with laying around at home for an hour or two. If you're going to leave your dog for long periods of time and they're not used to that, I'd highly recommend hire a dog walker. I mean, bite the bullet and get somebody in there that, can get your dog out for a walk, or at least come and hang out with them in your backyard. So they have a little bit of company and they don't feel quite so isolated. And I think it's also important, all the health things that we've talked about on this show, about making sure they're on a good, healthy diet so that their nervous system is supported nutritionally, because we know, when they're not on a healthy diet, boy, their anxiety levels can go way up. Same with people, you're feeding them a lot of processed foods, processed carbohydrates, laden with chemicals, and then they're getting these blood sugar spikes up and down. And they're gonna feel more anxious. So getting them on a good diet, minimizing vaccines, doing things like hiring a dog walker. If you're going to go on vacation, I mean, most people, have some, will have some way of having their dog taken care of, but a lot of dogs don't do well in boarding kennels either. So I think we talked about this before on the show, getting somebody in-house so they get to stay in their familiar environment, I think oftentimes is a better way to go. The dogs are happier and more relaxed. But I think the most important thing is just think through this, realize that this is going to be huge for your dog. Your dog is going to feel like its whole pack just abandoned it. And a lot of dogs have come from rescues and they've been down this road before they've been abandoned. And it's like a PTSD thing. They're like, oh my God, here I am alone again. My pack's run off. And, I don't know when they're coming back.
And you made a good point early on in the show where you said sometimes dogs will try to get out and escape and run because they're searching for you. They want to find the pack again. Their number one mission is to be a part of this pack. But think of last year, and something that, really kind of got to Dr. Judy and I's heart was that these dogs are being taken back to the shelter again, like running back through the washing machine. Here's the cycle. I'm going to put you in the shelter. Sorry, love you, but too bad. It doesn't fit anymore in my life now that we are back at work. So we made a commitment. Anytime we pick up a dog, it's not like you have children and go, man, when they were 2 years old, that was a pain in the butt. I'm just going to take them and have them be adopted somewhere. No, you really lean in.
Trade them in for an older model.
Trade them in. I wonder if they got a good 17-year-old that, so no. And this is along those lines is we make a commitment to bring another living being into our lives. And this living being, they live and die. We are their pack. They will do anything. They will destroy a crate. They will destroy the house. They will go through all this stuff because they are missing you so much. And I like how you had mentioned that little element of PTSD is they've been down this road. This isn't the first time. They remember, they know the feeling. They know what it's like to be forgotten about, to be dropped off at a kennel, and that's the last thing they want. And so, for example, is, getting, I love how you mentioned getting a dog walker. If your dog is social, take them to doggy daycare. Take them somewhere where they can, and that's if your dog is good with that. So for example, my dog Leo, he is not. I can't take him to a kennel, and I can't take him to a doggy daycare because he has separation anxiety. He really wants to be around me 100% of the time. And it's great. And then it's not great. But I notice that when I feed him a healthy diet, so he's not, doesn't have his stomach upset or he's not in pain, and I exercise him. His key is exercise. So I know I got to take him to the park 45 minutes a day, period. Like there's something I had to put into my life and in my schedule saying, okay, I can take him to the dog park. He handles that very well. And I can sit and work a little bit while he's running around. It's not that I have to play with him, but it's something that he needs his exercise in order to get that balance. So thinking about it, instead of just dropping the dog off and saying, oh, this dog is too much work, or this dog is a pain in the butt that we got, and just getting rid of it, instead of having that happen, is adopting maybe a new lifestyle change for yourself, because you did bring something. You did bring a loving animal into your home.
Yeah, and it is a commitment, and it really upsets me when I hear these stories about people just taking pets back. They're not disposable, it's not a disposable entertainment device. And now that you've got other things you'd rather be doing, well, we'll just take them back, or they're being destructive. You need to work with them, or, hire a trainer. There's a lot of trainers that'll come into your home and a couple of sessions just to help. Sometimes when you can get professional eyes on the situation, they will have suggestions for what to do. I don't recommend drugging your dogs, by the way. Very short term, and probably another good Facebook Live we could do, Matt, are the thunderstorm and firework phobias, and get into that. It's kind of related, but different stuff there. So short term, something like that. It's the 4th of July. Your dog is going to freak out. Would I give my dog? I have actually given, because I have a dog that's has a lot of noise phobias. I have given him a sedative on the 4th of July, because it's one evening, maybe a couple evenings in a row.
Right.
But for ongoing separation anxiety, and I bring this up because the veterinary profession tends to go down this road. You go in, you tell your vet, dog has separation anxiety, and they're putting them on pharmaceuticals that oftentimes alter their personalities even more. So I do not recommend going the pharmaceutical route. Now, you can use things like Bach flower remedies. Bach flower remedies are designed to help treat the emotional state. And so there's, the real common one is rescue remedy, which is actually a blend of several of the flower essences. It's the word I was trying to think of, is a blend of several of the flower essences. And you can put that in your dog's waters. They're getting a little dose all the time. And when you're going to go leave, put some drops in your dog's mouth, and that'll help keep them calm. You can diffuse essential oils like lavender, chamomile, these real calming, soothing. Vetiver is a great one. It's very grounding, very calming. You can rub these on your dog's head and face when you leave. And, if you have the opportunity to set, like, you're going to be leaving the house more, kind of do some trial runs where you do everything you normally do, because the dog will pick up on your cues. Separation anxiety starts probably when you're in the shower getting ready to leave the house, because your dog knows, okay, they know which clothes you've put, you've grabbed out of the closet. Okay, we're not going to the dog park. They're going someplace else, or God forbid you get out the suitcase and, do I see sad eyes when I get out the suitcase if we're going away? Wiley looks at me like, Mom, you're leaving me.
Chacha will turn his back to Jamie, so he won't even look at her as she's leaving the door. Just turns his back like,
Chihuahuas are awful that way. They're so good at laying the guilt trip on. But you can do that stuff, get your car keys out, they know what the car keys sound like, and leave for like 10 minutes and then come back. And the dog's like, oh, that wasn't so bad, they weren't gone too long. And then you go for a little longer, just run some short errands and come back. And then you can kind of build up, and then you can desensitize the dog. They know, okay, they're leaving, but they're going to come back. And have things, if your dog likes to chew on things, we don't want to leave anything that with them that they could choke on if they're unattended. But, you know, things like the hard rubber Kongs that you can put almond butter or some treat in that the dog has to work on for a while. I think giving them a distraction as you're leaving, like that's that crucial moment where that panic kind of sets in, like, oh my God, they're going. If they can have a distraction right then and there, then they'll calm down. And I think, you know, things will go better. So CBD is another great, we've talked about that on the show before too, just for anxiety. They can really help just kind of take the edge off a little bit. It's great for lots of things, but it can also help with anxiety. And if you do a combination of these natural anti-anxiety, you know, herbs and oils and all of that, that can really help just take that edge off without having to go to the pharmaceuticals. And like I said, get professional help, get a trainer to help you. I hate saying this, but your veterinarian isn't going to help you because they're just going to give you drugs, and that isn't solving anything. If they work, it's just because they're turning your dog into a zombie, you know, and then that tends to change their personality, and they're just not the same dog. I mean, I've seen this over and over again with things like fluoxetine, which is the generic Prozac, or they use trazodone in dogs, and gabapentin, which has always been used as a pain med, is now used for anxiety. And again, for short term, you know, your dog gets super anxious when they go to the vet and you got to give them something just to get through that one afternoon. That's one thing, but day after day after day, I think that's negligent. Really, it's a big cop out, and it's really harming your dog.
Especially when there's so many options out there for them, for you as a pet parent to lean into that. But what we're saying is that this is your responsibility. So figure out, you know, what your dog pays attention to. I love how you said cues. Those cues that, you know, come through, and you are the reward. So creating a new habit for your dog to actually not destroy your stuff when you leave is, if you look at that cue response. So the trigger is you leaving. So we have a trigger response of you leaving, and the cue is you walk out the door. But if you give a treat at that time, now you're retraining that when the trigger happens, they're thinking, I get a treat, and the reward is you come back and you return. So if we keep that pattern going, it doesn't take long for your dog to learn a new habit and to start adopting it. I mean, give your dog a piece of, you know, little, I'm not saying feed your dog off the table or that, or give them, you know, a nice raw treat and do something right before it. It'll take 3 times and your dog will hear that and his mouth will start to salivate. I mean, you look at Pavlov and how he trained his dogs, and he created that Pavlovian response. This is really, as we're stepping into it, is create that Pavlovian response for your dog that, yes, you will leave, but you're going to come back. And when you leave, they get a little reward. And you come back as the big reward. So with that kept up over time, it doesn't take much, and your dog will start adopting to this new way of being and this new habit of living with you being gone all day.
Right. And oh, for goodness sakes, don't punish your dog when you come home. If they've destroyed something, because if you walk in and your dog has torn something up, and you know, you just came home, long day, you're tired, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff, you know, torn up in your house, and you're just mad. If you punish the dog and you just throw a fit about that, your dog really doesn't know it. Animals like you, if you're going to reprimand them, you have to reprimand them right in the instant that they're doing something. Otherwise, your dog is not going to have any idea what he's going to get in trouble, what he's getting in trouble for. And it's going to increase his anxiety, because what's he going to think? You leave, when you come back, I'm going to get in trouble. And they don't make that association between the tearing stuff up and the getting in trouble. You know, I know a lot of people think, well, they should understand this. Like, no, they don't. Because they almost can't help it. It's such a strong reflex and such a strong instinct. But I will guarantee you the whole situation will get worse if you do that. This is about building confidence in your dog and reducing anxiety, not contributing to it by just, you know, yelling at it and getting frustrated, because you know what, the people are responsible for their pets. And if things are not going well, it is your responsibility to get professional help if you need it, and seek out some of these natural anti-anxiety products that can help, you know, kind of keep your dog calm while you're gone. But getting upset and anxious and yelling and screaming and pitching a fit is not going to help anything. And it's just going to make the whole situation worse. And you have a responsibility to this pet. So, you know, you need to research, get on Google, and, you know, everybody researches all kinds of stuff anyway. Research separation anxiety and learn some things that you can do, you know, to help your pet. And you can find ways to maintain that relationship and, you know, not have it be a big source of frustration.
Yeah. There's no good reason to take your dog back to the shelter. They're just you're reinforcing that separation again, and you're putting them back through a very traumatic event of being in a shelter and no longer a part of their pack. Somebody, where you picked them up last year for, you know, COVID happened, you wanted to get a dog, you picked up the dog, you were all excited. It was great having them in the house. But remember, before they ever joined your home, they had another life that they lived. And so being that a dog, I love how you mentioned that the dog is in the moment of now. Your dog lives 100% in the moment of now. Does this situation match this situation I have in my memory? And if it does, then all of a sudden I'm going to act a very similar way. So it's your challenge and your opportunity to then, you know, change the way you think. So when you talk about getting professional help, I love how they say, when you talk to professional dog trainers, they're like, we're not training the dog. We're training you.
Exactly.
So because the dog wants to please you all the time. It wants to be one of the top in the pack. It wants to rise the ladder of your acceptance in the actual pack itself. And it wants to, you know, be the number one dog in the pack. And so are we allowing your dog to be the number one dog in the pack, or are we making it very difficult to near impossible for them to be successful?
Right. Exactly. Set your dog up for success.
And you can keep them. There's no reason to take them back to the shelter. So thank you, Dr. Judy, for the show today. And it was a little preachy, but I think it was definitely something worth talking every minute on. And I love how we are both on the same page, that it is not the dog's fault. It is our fault for buying them. And bringing them into our home. But that gives us a huge responsibility on what we can do.
And there are things that can be done. And I think if your knee-jerk reaction is just to take the dog back, you're just being lazy, in my opinion.
Yeah. You're giving up on somebody that you love. You wouldn't do it to your own children. You wouldn't do it to your husband, wife, any other loved one. It's not like when, you know, great grandma gets sick, you're like, well, let's just drop her off at the shelter, which is the nursing home, and let's forget about her. No, I mean, everything touches your heart. And so your dog, you are touching their heart, and they touch yours as well, and the love that they can bring. So it's your opportunity to find that love in them and have them find that comfort when you leave. And I know you can do it.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Dr. Judy, for the show today. Really,
my pleasure.
Really good. So awesome. Well, everyone out there, I hope we gave you some food for thought, and you're thinking a little bit now. If you're thinking about giving your dog the shelter, we encourage you, take a first step and go seek some professional help, as they can help you love your dog and your dog to stop destroying or being the dog that you don't want them to be. So thank you guys so much. And I hope you guys have an incredible day.
Bye, everybody. Go take your dog for a walk.
Yeah, go take your dog for a walk. Amen.